The storm rolled in right after midnight, the kind that didn't just bring rain, it brought a heaviness that settled inside the house like a warning. Marcus stood in the middle of his grandmother's old farmhouse, the one she left him after she passed. It was supposed to be a quick stop, grab a few boxes, look around, maybe reminisce. But the storm had other plans. The power flickered once, twice, then gave up completely. He stood in the living room, lit only by the occasional flash of lightning leaking through the thin curtains. Every piece of furniture in the house was old enough to have seen things, and tonight, they all seemed to be remembering. Marcus took out his phone. 5% battery. No signal. Of course. He grabbed his flashlight from his backpack and clicked it on. A thin beam stabbed through the darkness and settled on the long hallway leading to the bedrooms. The floorboards groaned, even though he wasn't moving. He paused. That didn't come from him. He turned the light toward the hall. Nothing. Just the narrow stretch of creaking wood and faded wallpaper peeling after decades of damp summers. Then came the footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming from behind the bedroom doors at the end of the hall. Marcus froze. The house had been empty for years. Absolutely no one was supposed to be here. He whispered, "Hello." His voice barely made it past his lips, swallowed almost instantly by the storm outside. Another step, another, and then the unmistakable soft drag of something scraping across the floor. He took a step back as his pulse shot into his throat. The flashlight shook in his hand, beam stuttering across the walls. One of the bedroom doors clicked, not fully open, not fully closed, just moved. Marcus swallowed hard and forced his breathing to quiet. He edged closer, slow enough that each breath felt like a gamble. When he reached the doorway, he nudged it open with the tip of the flashlight. The smell hit first. Dust, old wood, and something else. Something sour, like wet fabric that had been left in the dark far too long. Lightning flashed behind him, bright enough to illuminate the room for just a second. There was someone crouched in the corner. Marcus jerked back and slammed into the wall. The flashlight flickered violently. "Who's there?" he shouted, breath cracking. There was no reply, only the faint shuffle of movement in the dark. He forced himself to look again, shining the flashlight directly into the corner. Nothing. The room was empty. But he had seen someone. A shadow. No, a shape. Something with shoulders hunched and a head slightly tilted like it was listening. The boards behind him creaked again. This time the sound was closer, much closer. Marcus spun around and saw that the hallway was now different. The wallpaper, which had been merely faded before, now looked warped, like something underneath was pushing outward. The bulge moved slowly, sliding down the hall toward him, leaving a faint, wet trail on the surface. A whisper seeped from inside the wall, so low it almost blended with the rain. Marcus stepped back into the bedroom and slammed the door, holding the knob tight as something pressed against the other side. Not pounding, just pressing, testing. The voice behind the wall rose into a frantic, overlapping murmur, as if more than one person was speaking from inside the plaster. He backed away, gripping the flashlight like a weapon. The murmur stopped. Then the doorknob began to turn on its own. Marcus lunged forward and held it still, muscles shaking as something on the other side twisted harder. The metal trembled violently in his hand. A voice whispered through the keyhole, sharp, broken, like lungs filled with water. "Don't leave." Marcus stumbled back, fear pulling him toward the window. Lightning illuminated the glass again, and he caught a reflection behind him. Just for a second. A figure stood in the center of the room, small, frail, its head tilted, the same shape he saw in the corner. The flashlight dropped from his hands. The bulb cracked when it hit the floor. Darkness swallowed him whole. For a heartbeat, the world was silent. Then he felt a breath against his ear, cold enough to burn. "You came back." The storm roared louder outside, and somewhere deep inside the farmhouse walls, something began to claw its way free.